are you more excited for Ohio State, Georgia, or for TCU, Michigan?
Stars guy, man.
You want the dudes everywhere.
I want the dudes everywhere versus dudes everywhere.
Well, let's talk about that. Ohio State, Georgia
going to win pretty easily.
What would Ohio State have to do to beat? Because here's
that's the number one discussion point.
Here's my worry. My worry for Ohio State is that C.J. Stroud is just bothered constantly, and as good as those receivers are, he's just not able to be on schedule.
There is a legitimate discussion that has to be had, and I don't know if today's the day or if we'll do it during the 700 podcasts we do between now and the game, about having a pass-first quarterback who can't run in today's age.
Yeah.
And we were watching the TCU game in the sports book, and TCU forced overtime because Duggan.
Well, and what was my biggest complaint about the play calling at the end for TCU? Because everybody else says get it under center and run a quarterback sneak.
No,
so I'm watching K-State's nose push TCU's centers back 2 yards every play. So that would be a dumb call. When you have a quarterback like Max Duggan and you're on the goal line like that, and you have multiple shots, put him in the shotgun, call a pass, and if they get pressure, there's a real good chance he's going to run it in.
The entire fourth quarter of them getting back into the game was Max Duggan running it.
Exactly.
Doing it on times
exactly. When K-State got pressure, he turned a negative into a positive.
There was one play, too, a big pass play where Duggan rolled right.
Yeah.
And as he was running towards the sideline, the defensive backs froze because they were fixed with the decision. Do we make sure he doesn't run it, or do you stay with the guy?
Yep.
If C.J. Stroud is rolling there, they stay with the receiver, and Ohio State doesn't get a
They're never worried about it. Exactly.
And when you're playing a team that's like, listen, if Jackson Smith-Njigba comes back and Marvin Harrison,
right,
that's a pretty nasty.
That changes the matchup. Yeah.
But if anybody can cover those guys, it's Georgia.
Right.
So you have a quarterback that can he's the best arm in college football without question. But if you have a one-dimensional quarterback in today's game, can you beat Georgia?
Well, and the other thing about beating Georgia is Ohio State's defense, which was obviously they changed coordinators. They hired Jim Knowles in the offseason. They're supposed to get tougher. Did not look tougher at the end of the Michigan game. Yeah. Georgia is going to batter you in the same way Michigan will.
But far worse.
Yeah.
More thoroughly. Because at Michigan,
there's no Darnell Washington at Michigan.
Last season, when Michigan beat Ohio State, it was punch after punch after punch after punch. Yeah. And Michigan wasn't running the ball like that on Ohio State at all. They 4 out of their 5 touchdowns were for further than 60
but
yards.
Here's the thing.
So
only because Ohio State blew those 2 runs so badly at the end, because Michigan had started to really unlock it. They were gaining 5-6 yards a carry. So
when Ohio State was
if they hadn't been giving up 60-yard touchdown runs, they would have given up 10 6-yard runs that led to a touchdown.
So what do you think Ohio State's biggest issue is then? And is that something that's fixable in 3 weeks? Because I don't know that it is.
No, I don't know that they have what they need up front to handle Georgia, because Georgia's offensive line is very good. Like Cedric Van Pangranger is an NFL guy. Both their tackles are NFL. I mean, they're all 5 are NFL guys, but both their tackles may be first-round guys. So
what we'll do, though, at some point is we should do this for both games.
And then Darnell Washington as a blocker. I mean, you saw him yesterday. They were trying to give him some tape as a receiver, probably just to scare some people.
Yeah.
But Darnell Washington as a blocker is devastating.
We have to do this for both games, where we do a draft of the best players on either team.
Oh, wow. And Ohio State, Georgia is going to be a fun one.
Because, you'll go the top 10, and, you might, it might be 5-5.
Right, especially if Jackson Smith-Njigba is playing.
Yeah.
Because then Ohio State has the best 2 receivers on the field.
And it's when you have 5-5, it's better than 9-1, because if Georgia was playing against TCU, it'd be 9-1. Maybe, right? Is
exactly.
that fair?
Oh, no, it's plenty fair. Quentin Johnston's probably the only person getting picked.
We'll do it for both games. It'll be very interesting to see, because I think that Ohio State's got 5 top-end first-round draft picks on this team, and when you have that
because we talk about C.J. Stroud, but Paris Johnson's probably a first-round draft pick.
Top 5 pick too, I think, right? It's Alabama and Ohio State might have 4 of the top 6 picks this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and really where it's going to come down is we probably need to figure out the way that is probably the better, more interesting podcast way to do it.
Yeah.
I think the better way to figure out who wins the game and how they win it, especially with Ohio State, Georgia, is here are the position groups for each team.
Who's got the advantage?
Who would start?
Who would start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had one team and you had to make one team out of these 2 rosters, who would start at each position?
Yeah. That would be hard, but that would be fun. We'll do that. Let's do that.
Yeah. Because what I suspect is that Georgia's entire defensive line would start, and that's a problem for Ohio State.
JT Tuimoloau is really good.
That's true. He may.
I don't know, but Georgia. I don't know who you're putting on the bench though. So,
exactly.
I don't know.
There's no Jalen Carter at Ohio State right now.
Well, the difference between the SEC and the Big Ten, and especially at Ohio State, has always been, and this isn't just a 2-year thing. This has been a 20-year thing, that the guys in the nose position, in the middle of the defensive line are.
Well, I mean, Jalen Carter's not a nose.
No, I know, but like just in general, when you go down the line of SEC versus Big Ten, the talent in the where the SEC is deeper than other leagues is, like, the guy who plays nose for Mississippi State is usually better than everybody who plays nose in every other league. Right.
And he's not the best nose in the SEC.
That's right. But he's also an NFL nose.
Yeah, exactly.
So like that's something. And like when you think about the schedule that Ohio State has played, Georgia is far more battle tested from a physical standpoint to be equipped to handle this than Ohio State is. Ohio State's played one team that can punch it in the mouth all year, and they got their butts.
Right. Georgia's played Tennessee. They played Mississippi State. They played Florida. Like Florida, Jervon Dexter, the D tackle for Florida, he's a top 100 guy in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
Like they see people like that, even though the Florida didn't have anybody else, and Georgia made it look easy.
Yeah.
They see people like that.
Yep.
Pretty regularly.
Yep.
So this is going to be really fun, I think, to break down that Georgia and Ohio State game.
The other thing, too, is if Georgia goes on to win the national championship, because they're minus 140 to win it all right now.
Right.
It's a pretty big favorite to win 2 games in a row against a top-tier opponent.
Absolutely.
Does Georgia become and is the new Alabama? Like that's – you win back-to-back. Alabama misses the playoff, the way they're recruiting.
Well, and Nick Saban predicted this years ago, because he always said if somebody like him got in there at Georgia, they could dominate the sport. And that's exactly what they're doing right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's like if Nick Saban,
because we're a 2nd and 26 throw away from Georgia playing for its third national title in 6 seasons. Yeah.
In 6 seasons, which, Kirby Smart's on the television right now. If Nick Saban retires for the next 5 years and he's got 25 more, it's not out of the new 12-team playoff people think might change things, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that somebody could do what Nick Saban did.
Kirby Smart and I are essentially the same age. Like, I know how much longer I'm planning on working.
Yeah.
I think he's going to work for a while.
But everybody thinks that what Nick Saban has done can never be duplicated. And like we could be in the beginning stages of watching it happen again.
Yeah. Well, and Nick always said it would be easier to do it at Georgia because of the proximity to talent, because of the way that state is structured, where, a lot of the population is fairly new. Like a lot of these players are first generation Georgians, like their parents moved there from somewhere else, but it's still a state where every guidance counselor's office has a Georgia flag or a Georgia diploma. Every teacher is hanging a Georgia flag out. Like everything they see is Georgia, Georgia, Georgia all the time. And so it's very similar to Ohio State and Ohio, where you are trained from birth. This is the pinnacle. Yep. Like if you can wear that G on the side of your helmet, that's the pinnacle.
It's all there. It's all there for the taking.
Yeah.
So,